Hello and welcome to another episode of Visceral Musings. My name is Cody Reed. I am your host, and it is Wednesday, my dudes. So we got a fresh episode for you, hot off the presses. My guest today is a total smoke show. He's a powerhouse conversationalist, he's effortlessly funny, he's shamelessly himself, and best of all, an unapologetic weirdo. His name is Nicholas Perez, or you might know him as Oz. I know him as Oz, so if you stick around, you'll find out why I know him as Oz and not as Nicholas. Today is my favorite episode of this podcast that I have done so far. I think it really just encapsulates everything that I wanted to do with this. It nails so many of the key points of this, and you can hear the passion in this guy's voice whenever he talks about the things that he likes. We talked about cartoons, we talked about comic books, but most of all, we talked about the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I think you guys are going to really like this one, so stick around. Fanny pack and dildo fight scene.
Fucking thick rods. Whips out those tremendous cocks.
I love that gay shit. Just keep it coming. I was so bricked up.
I don't wipe my ass with plates, even if I wash them.
That's the most Republican thing about me, is that I'm a boob guy. He's gonna whip their asses with a goddamn butter sock. Hello and welcome to another episode of Visceral Musings. My name is Cody Reed, and my guest today has a great butt and an even better smile. He's my friend, Nicholas Perez. How are you doing, Nicholas?
Hey, man, I'm lovely. Thank you.
Is it weird to hear me call you Nicholas?
It's super fucking weird, actually, man. It's so weird because, like, professionally, I'm not like a real hard ass about it. But every time I meet a client or I'm at work, I'm like, "Hi, thank you. This is Nicholas. Hi, I'm Nicholas." And so I hear it from my voice all the fucking time. But socially, it's kind of weird still.
I usually call you Oz. So where did the nickname Oz come from?
So kids are weird. You know what I mean? So I was like, I think 11 or however old one is in 7th grade. And I had a friend called Mariah Redacted, who was like an alternative kid like I am, you know, like weird, I guess is the right way to put it. And at that point in my life, I had like 2.5 or 3 foot long, like jet black hair. And I kind of wore it down in front of my face. And like, I'm very keen on these circle, frames, you know what I mean? So it's kind of got an like Janis Joplin, Ozzy Osbourne sort of vibe to it. And it was a direct reference to Ozzy Osbourne of rock and roll fame.
Oh.
That's
the Ozman cameth.
Yes, all over the place. And so that's how the nickname kind of started, and it just stuck because like up to that point I didn't really have like friends, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when you're a weird kid, you don't have friends all that often. So she was one of my first like actual friends, and the nickname just happened to have staying power.
That is actually kind of disappointing to me that we were that close to also being able to call you Janice.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah, dude. I would have taken Joplin or something like that, you know? Fuck yeah.
My first question for you is, you piss in the shower?
So no.
Fuck. Okay. Thank you. Okay. This is my 6th interview. This is my 5th overall episode. You're the first person that doesn't piss in the shower. I don't piss in the shower. I've been waiting for that.
So like, and it's complicated, I guess, not really, but I've never really pissed in the shower much. Back when I was in high school, we had a mutual friend called Redacted. And Redacted dated this woman who was the first person I ever heard of that was like a lady person that peed in the shower. And like, it was at that point I started to feel a little weird about the fact that I don't really pee in the shower. But I never really did a lot when I was younger. And for the last, 14 or so years of my life, 90% of the showers that I've taken haven't been alone. I shower with my wife basically every day. And I feel like even if I was compelled to pee in the shower, it'd be kind of rude, you know? It'd ruin the magic, I guess. She could see it happening. I don't know. It's just like it's never been something that I couldn't, I've never wanted to, if that makes sense.
Dude, first off, I think it's fucked up when I use somebody else's shower knowing that they piss in the shower. They're like, well, it gets washed down the drain. I'm like, I don't care if it gets washed down the drain, first off, because I've peed it goes down the toilet too. I've seen sprinkles. Like, I don't know everywhere that you pee. I don't know if you squat and point straight down the drain. Like, I don't know what you do.
Right.
But I just don't fuck with it.
Or like if you have like a hog, you know what I mean? Like one of those fucking real spray hose hogs, like where you might be getting it on the seat or the wall and you don't even realize because of your heavy flow. I don't fucking know, but like, I wouldn't take that chance.
This is the longest we've ever stayed on this topic because everybody pees in the shower and I'm like, damn. All right.
Well, cool. I mean, like, I don't wipe my ass with plates, even if I wash them. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't. It's not in my. It's not in my day, and that's okay with me.
It's not in your hubris,
right?
All right. My first real question is: who are you, and what do you do?
That's funny. So I'm Nicholas. I'm a closet artist and an IT professional. That's probably the fastest way to get through it.
Yeah, and a hell of a belly dancer.
Thank you, man.
I like calling you Oz, but I like when you make me call you Nicholas.
I usually only do that when the collar's on, man, you know?
So I learned from you that cool guys don't look at explosions. And this comes from, I used to walk to your house every day for like a solid stretch of time. I would walk to your house after I got out of school with my bass guitar. We'd sit at your house and then we'd end up not writing any music and just watching comic book movies. And so you're kind of like a fountain of useless knowledge when it comes to nerd shit. So I want to know, why do superheroes matter so much to you?
Yeah, it's so funny, man. So I'm really glad that you asked. Like, one of the things when you are a broadly weird kid is you have to consume something, like I was unfortunate enough to be exposed to the internet at a pretty young age, but a lot of my media consumption was like symbolism, if that makes sense. And a lot of superheroes and a lot of Marvel comic books and that sort of thing. And I feel like so much of my philosophical growth was spurred on by the arcs of a lot of these interesting and flawed characters. And that's kind of the short version. I feel like people have a hard time painting a picture of their feelings and of the world around them. And superheroes are such a great way to make a concept unavoidably large.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That was such a good fucking way of putting that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the same. I feel the exact same way. When I watch certain things, I like to be able to see myself in certain characters. And like, even though, I mean, I'll never be Spider-Man. When I read Spider-Man, I identify with Spider-Man so hard. And I like, honestly, aside from it being like, I like to, real life kind of sucks. And so I do like reading something in a universe where I can shut my brain off and just be fucking Batman for like an afternoon.
Yeah.
And just like I get to like immerse myself in this Gotham City or like fucking Metropolis, or it's like at the Daily Bugle or something. And it's always been something that's so therapeutic for me to just get invested in the artwork and the story, and to just like there's growth, there's tragedy, there's triumph, there's humor, there's so much to these characters that people discount it because it's just like flashy dudes in suits, and I love it.
Right.
I love almost every single aspect of it.
And you pointed out something really, I think, valuable about how kind of plain people feel like their life is. You know what I mean? Like it is so much harder to, in your regular day, see some of these moral questions that are posed in these comic books that are, I think, stimulating for your personal growth, but also very compelling to watch, very interesting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and that's exactly it, man. It's beautiful escapism, but I think it's almost educational.
Right.
Like, I think a lot of people lose the value of fiction when it comes to abstracting knowledge and growth as a person.
And I'm like I said, dude, I'm a slut for just a good story. Good storytelling does it for me. And one of the things that's always been really interesting to me about that is like these characters, they want my life. So like Peter Parker doesn't always want to be Spider-Man. He's kind of like, that's like torment. That's the Torment story arc, is that Spider-Man has to be Spider-Man, and like he has to forfeit certain parts of himself that he wishes he could have. And like honestly, he wishes he could be a dude in his 20s that has a regular job and just does his own thing. And then I read it and I'm like, I wish I was fucking Spider-Man. So.
Right, a funny cycle. No, I mean, like I'm probably about 5 years out of touch, maybe a little bit longer. Ever since Civil War II, I think, was probably the last time I was current on my reads.
So do you remember? Me too. Yeah. That's where I dropped off.
It's nothing against Axel Alonso or anything. It's just like it's hard to keep up. But G. Willow Wilson was writing the Miss Marvel series up to that point. Mm-hmm. And man, was she doing a fucking excellent job. Because like you think of Miss Marvel, who, sorry. You think of Kamala Khan as Miss Marvel, this young girl who's trying to just exist in such a peculiar way. Like she's yes, man, that's what's up. So she's a second generation immigrant family, and she's just trying to be a person, but she has these same sort of thoughts as we do, like this love for superheroes who, fortunately for her, are in the real world. And then she's thrust into this situation where she's now having to be a superhero while realizing, oh, fuck, man, it would have been great if I could have just continued being a regular teenage girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, for those of you guys only Nick can see me right now. I went and picked up the comic books that he's talking about. I had them literally sitting on my bookshelf. Good. Yeah. The same with Nova, Sam Alexander's Nova, because he's like a kid who grows up in Arizona, just kind of like romanticizing, like getting to be a superhero. And when you read this comic book, especially like Miss Marvel and the Nova series with Sam Alexander, you are like, it roots you, it grounds you in this way where you're like, holy fuck, these are kids. Like you actually are like, holy shit, I'm like, this is a kid. And then you start to like, then it draws back the curtain on like, just like, it shows the humanity in superheroes. And then you're like, they start going through kid shit, like things that kids go through. And then you're like, God damn it. It's just really compelling storytelling. And I fucking love it.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, G. Willow Wilson fucking tore it up with those Miss Marvels. I haven't read anything after. I hope whoever's writing for her right now is really killing it. But yeah, dude, I loved those almost as much as, well, no, actually, probably those are my favorite in the last like 15 years that I can think of easily off the top of my head. And Kelly Sue DeConnick and her Captain Marvel shit was really great too. But not that it's a comparison with art, but I feel like I really enjoyed the Miss Marvel a bit more.
Right. Next thing that I got for you is you were weird before I knew what weird was. And so the way that I mean this is like when I first met you, you wore whatever the fuck you wanted to wear. Like you would be wearing cargo shorts, a woman's t-shirt, and goggles. And I'd be like, holy shit, there really are no fucking rules. I never really thought of it because I was just dressing all punk rock. And then I was like, that might be more punk rock than what I'm doing.
It was really liberating. Like, and I think I know exactly what you mean because like I was really slight in high school. Like I spent a long time, my arc of body shape was chubby, then super thin, and back kind of out wider and wider. But during that piece of time in high school and in junior high, when I was slimming up, man, I could wear my sister's t-shirts, and often did. My sister's 6 years younger than I am. So imagine, I'm 13 wearing a fucking 7 or 8 year old girl's shirt because it fits on my top half, along with my like trip pants or fucking cargo pants or whatever else I had. Because it just like, there was a lot of inspiration from video game culture and from comic books, and like this idea that these people are out there living their best life, doing what they can, wearing these flamboyant outfits. And I was like, fuck, man. Like, if it can help just eke me a little bit closer to a good day, I don't give a fuck, man. I had a top hat, like this black top hat.
I remember it.
That I wore
and it had
years.
It had goggles on it.
Yes, like, and I had these really nicely made kind of like steampunk-esque.
Are these the ones that they went up the arm, kind of?
No, I'm talking about the
okay.
goggles, dog. Yeah, so I had these nicely made steampunk silver and black and orange goggles, and I carried around a set of dice in the lenses. And like, I didn't have cause to use them very much, but it was just for me. Kind of like wearing lingerie under your clothes, you know what I mean? Like, just, I did a little something for myself so that it kind of felt cool, because it did feel cool. And yeah, I did have like the fucking, the wrist warmers on my left hand.
Okay, that's what I was trying to remember. I always fucking loved them because they were black and white. And
yeah,
I
had a collection of them actually. So like having friends was really novel for me when I was younger, because up until I was in junior high, I didn't really have a lot of people that I could talk to. And I hung out with a lot of sort of the alternative, like, girls, I guess you could say, back then. And all of those, I bought, I think, only one of those myself. All of them were gifts from friends. And so I subbed them out, and they were all mostly black and white. I think I only had one that was black and red, but I had a checker, and then I had 2 sets of stripe. I loved them, man. They felt cool as hell.
So where I wanted to go with this was, like, you were always yourself no matter what. And so no matter who tried to beat it out of you, you always showed up wearing the same shit. You acted the same way. You said the same shit. And it was, I don't think you knew it at the time, but for me, it was something that I needed to see, because we grew up in Sholo. And so I took a lot of cues from the way that you, the way that you presented yourself and the way that you acted. I was like, this guy is fucking punk rock from the word go. But I wanted to know, now that you know what it's like to be, you know, we're from a very religious town, really small town, where it's not always cool or like acceptable to just be unapologetically yourself in the way that you were. So how does growing up a weirdo inform the way that you parent or raise your daughter?
Oh, that's such a fucking awesome question, dude. So, like, I think that you really nailed it in that, like, I recognize from an early age, like, not exactly a page out of Dr. Seuss's book, but like there was no fucking point in me trying to posture as someone else. I recognize it might have made things like somewhat easier, but like it doesn't at the end of the day, because you have to stomach yourself. And when, like, I had a really volatile childhood, shit was so fucking close to the top for me so often that I couldn't just tack on more bullshit. Like, I couldn't have to put on this fucking mask every day, or else it might have become more perilous, you know what I mean, internally. And so I recognized early and actualized this sort of unapologetic self-expression. And as a parent, it's been hard in a way, but also really easy when it comes to my own daughter, who's now, you know, getting to that older age where kids are a lot more worried about what other kids think, you know what I mean? And not trying to like generalize, but as you kind of creep over that border of 10 years old into 11 and on, kids feel like they need to be a certain thing to fit in, to be accepted, to be kind of, for lack of other words, loved by their community. And it has been something that has been paramount in my parenting, to make sure that my daughter knows that, like, that is never an actual barrier to acceptance. Like, you'll have days, if you're being yourself, where kids might say cruel things about you, but that doesn't ever decrease your worth, your value. And at the end of the day, those kids are imprisoned by the expectations that they're putting on themselves to behave and to dress a certain way. And you are giving them life, whether they want it or not, by just letting yourself be yourself. You know what I mean? And so, like, she's at an age now where she does bring home these sort of concerns about how kids are treating her. And it's heartbreaking. But at no point have I ever recommended to her, oh, you should just suck it up and fucking be normal. You know, like, I would never.
Yeah. If they don't like you, if they don't like what you're doing or the way that you're dressed, that's their fucking problem. Never make it your problem.
Well, and that's a very good way to put it. But I tell her, it's like, look, man, most of these kids are so worried about what other kids think that they're not actually espousing their own opinions. You know, kids might say, oh, Fortnite sucks, or, oh, Legos are for babies or whatever. Mm-hmm. But, like, they don't fucking feel that way, dude. They're 10 years old. At 10 years old, there's nothing they want more than to be able to play with those fucking Legos. But they're worried about what Bob, Dick, or Harry is going to say if they find them playing with Legos. And that's devastating. No kids should feel that way, but they do. Yeah. And so I always try to reassure her that, like, she is a beautiful person, an excellent person, and deserves to be able to be herself. You know what I mean? I think that I think it is good. Kind of like you mentioned, seeing that was good for you. I think that it's the same for her. And I've told her that, like, being yourself, you might catch some grief for that, but it's so fucking good for these kids to see that you can. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Ultimately for you, it'll be liberating.
Oh, hell yeah, for sure.
Like, most people don't get to. There's actually, it's kind of a dumb quote, and it's kind of a throwaway part of the movie. But in the movie Step Brothers, there's a part where the dad gets really he starts telling him, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a dinosaur. And then he's like, I was going to go to med school, I was going to come back, and I was going to be a dinosaur. I was going to get right back to it, but I forgot how to do it. And you see an old man trying to, like, do the arms, and then he's like, don't lose your dinosaur. I've had "don't lose your dinosaur" written in a million of my notebooks whenever I feel like giving up, or like when I feel like I'm losing myself a little bit. I do remind myself to not lose my dinosaur.
No, it's beautiful. Like, I wouldn't even qualify that as a throwaway part of the movie, because I think that, like, that is such a good thing that people, like, it mostly comes from external forces. And honestly, like, it comes a lot from our parents too. Exactly. This sort of crushing, you need to reconsider your life plan. You should probably consider doing X or Y thing, and like this fear of being not accepted, and like, I think kids are fighting a battle that's sharper on one side than the battle we had, but duller on others, because there is a greater expectation of peer, maybe not peer pressure, but like adhering to what your peers expect of you. But there's also a greater community of people who will accept you if they don't. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, because, like, legitimately, I had access to the internet and shit, but, like, social media didn't fucking matter when we were kids. Like, maybe by the time we hit high school, maybe it was a thing. But now there are fucking kids on these social media platforms at, like, 10 years old, dude. And they're letting that sculpt the person that they feel like it's okay to be. And that's devastating. Yeah. For so many reasons. So I'm very, very aware of that in my parenting, and I really try to assure my kid that, like, not only do I love her, but she deserves to love herself, and let that manifest in behaving and representing herself however she feels is authentic. And I think it's fucking dope. Like, I think she's doing great, and I really do not plan on changing my approach much in that regard. Like, obviously I want to get better at it, but I don't think I'm ever going to turn to say, well, it's probably about time that you don't let this become a problem, and you start thinking a little bit more about how you're going to make friends. She's got plenty of friends, I'm
going to be shifting gears just a little bit here. But there was a time that you used to dabble in telling jokes on stage, and specifically one of these instances that I'm talking about, you were playing in a band, and your band set was kind of like tanking from what I remember you telling me, and then you tried to save it by telling some jokes. Do you remember what those jokes were?
Yeah,
because I'd love to hear them.
I was thinking about this the other day, and I'd love to get you canceled with these jokes. I'm sure people really care.
Oh, we're going down together, dude. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, dude. So, like, I ate some dick as a kid, Like, I had some really bad sets, and that was one of them. And it was at the Sholo School Auditorium. And honestly, it's such a conflicted place for me because I have such beautiful memories in that auditorium. But this one, I'll never forget. I was really fucking bombing. And this was around the time, like, I would say within a month or two of the passing of the great, and I want to emphasize, great actor, Heath Ledger. And there was this subculture online where, like, it's a kind of black humor that I think is lost on people. And I was really into it. And so I was delivering as many really insensitive Heath Ledger jokes, and they were fucking dumb. Like, I remember one of them was like, I just walked up to the microphone and I was like, knock, knock.
Who's there?
not Heath Ledger. And like, I just stood there and I did like the face and fucking rapturous silence in this auditorium. A bunch of upset adults and children. But I thought it was great.
I thought about that joke and I laughed today.
Yeah, dude. Well, it's just like there's a certain you kind of have to take death with a certain degree of levity. And as a kid, I really did appreciate the absurdist sort of black humor. And like this was during the same period of time where dead baby jokes were in vogue. Do you remember dead baby jokes?
Of course I do. Yeah.
Like such a fucking wild thing that like you have to let exist only in the lens of comedy, because they are some of the most horrible sentences a person could utter if they didn't pass them through that filter. Like, what's worse than 5 dead babies nailed to a tree?
What?
1 dead baby nailed to 5 trees. It's nonsense.
One of my favorites was, how many dead babies can you fit in a single bathtub?
How many?
17.
So dumb.
Okay.
It's so dumb.
There was one joke that I didn't know if you'd remember it or not. You told this and it fucking killed me, and I've repeated it several times. So you said, why did Princess Diana cross the street?
Why?
Because she wasn't wearing her seatbelt.
Silly, dude.
That was so good. That one really got me. Okay, so
I love that.
Going on to I had one thing. I'm going to skip over it because I have a genuine question for you. You are somebody who has an affinity for cartoons. Can you tell me where it came from?
Well, like, so I grew up in a really tumultuous household. And I think the biggest problem when you grow up in like an environment like that is how scary the real world can be. But it also happened to be the 90s. And I don't know how well you remember the 90s cartoons, but there were some fucking thick rods. I mean, like really delightful cartoons that came out in the 90s that were so full of life, but also still fun and accessible for children. And I never let that go. I think a lot of people get worried about, sculpting the type of media that they consume to fit a more quote-unquote age-appropriate lens. But the thing is, man, cartoons largely are made by adults, and a lot of these adults are artist types. They understand what they're doing. And there are definitely cartoons that suck ass, but there are not many of them, dude. Like, these people are legit fucking artists. And we grew up in a time where there were things like the first several seasons of SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yes.
Invader Zim and all of the series by Jonan Vasquez.
Yes. Anything that Jonan's done is amazing.
He's a stone cold killer. And like, that's
he's
the
a
thing,
fucking
dude.
weirdo too. The way that he creates these weird worlds that are kind of disgusting. I fucking love it. And I still have such an affinity for Invader Zim and Johnny the Homicidal Maniac or any of that stuff.
Invader Zim, I'm watching it through with my child, like lately, and there are so many really excellent social commentaries in that are kind of lost on you as a kid, but like are funny and are now just so beautiful to see depicted the way that they did. Like everything about the way that the adults interact with children in that, that it is so true. You know what I mean? Like, and that's kind of the thing
the way
with
that Dib's
Fairly
dad
Odd
always
Parents.
writes them off. Yeah. No, I gotcha.
Fucking Fairly Odd Parents, man. That's another one where it is actually beautiful social commentary in the form of a silly cartoon. And it's definitely funny. So yeah, dude, I've never let go of that because there are some great ones. And then you have like cinematic masterpieces, like, which I'm really grateful this is getting more attention lately, but Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Fuck yes.
Fucking A, dude.
So good.
What
it was my favorite
marvel.
show. Yeah, it was my favorite show growing up was Avatar.
Well, because it's fucking excellent, man. It is artistically absolutely mind-blowingly excellent.
I'm gonna move to our last little piece here. But not before I throw in this little tidbit. One of the things that I've been loving the most about, so I'm a huge Chris Claremont, like any of the X-Men is like, that's my shit. That's my first love.
Yeah.
The original X-Men animated series was always it always had to do with prejudice, and it always had to do about like it had a lot to do about identity. And then you watch these kids who grew up and kind of like shifted their political or like their ideologies have like gone a certain direction, and now they're watching the X-Men and being like, this is a bunch of woke liberal bullshit. And I'm like, no,
I've heard about that.
Actually, motherfucker, they've been saying the same thing the whole time. You changed. The message is the same.
X-Men is woke liberal bullshit.
It
dude,
always
and that's
has
why
been.
It's good.
Yes,
like that's
it started,
what is good about it.
It started with the fucking civil rights movement, and this is not
exactly
only
it.
just fucking like X-Men, but it's also like X-Men the animated series is one of the biggest cartoons of all time. So like you go from watching it as a kid mindlessly and like just really enjoying the colors, the characters, and the stories to growing up and realizing, holy fucking shit, there is an undertone to this that actually has like value and meaning to it that you can actually like integrate into your everyday life.
No, absolutely.
Yes.
And the Iceman was one of the first openly gay and married, same-sex married cartoon characters at all, specifically in the Marvel canon. Yeah, dude, fuck, man.
Shouts.
That takes an absolute lack of nuance to have an opinion like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude.
Like,
Shouts to Bobby Drake. I like it.
Right.
I love that gay shit. Just keep it coming.
Dude, absolutely. Well, like, and that's the thing, man. I feel like we're uniquely situated to have that opinion, but it's crazy because like I look back at legitimate media that was produced in our lifetime where it was a joke. Like gay was the butt of the joke. You know what I mean? It's fucking weird, but it's also so cool to see how far we've come as a society since then. There's still obviously hella room to go.
Right.
But I mean, it's amazing to see the amount of progress that's been made.
I think too, gay is now just rearing its head up right behind the butt of the joke. And hey-o. So I got this next question that I have for you is, so as someone who's had sex, would you consider yourself a foodie?
I would. I definitely would.
I think we're transitioning into a game show segment. It's time for Sex, Move, or Good Food. America's #1 game show, hosted by me, Cody Reed. The rules are simple. I'm going to read our contestant a series of food-related words, and he has to guess, is it a sexual act, or is it just good food? Alrighty, folks, let's get right back to this episode of Visceral Musings. I'm going to read you a series of food-related words, and you have to tell me, is it a real food, or is it something that I found on Urban Dictionary? Bonus points if you can tell me what the dish or the sex act is.
Word, I love this.
All right, so let's get right into it. Number 1, the Dublin Coddle. You ever given somebody the old Dublin Coddle?
Honestly, dude, that sounds like food. It doesn't sound like a sex thing. Is it really?
That's right. No, it's an Irish dish made up of leftovers.
Oh, cool. That makes sense.
All right. 2 raisins on the board.
That has the vibe of sex thing. I'm worried it's like a scat thing, but I hope it's not.
It is a flat-chested woman, as per Urban Dictionary's definition. Okay, and I just want to point out, it is hard to find like actual sex things with like food in them. Yes, so this was a sex term, sex slang.
Shout out to small-chested women.
Dude, I'm a boob guy. I don't care the size. So that's the most Republican thing about me is that I'm a boob guy.
Is that you're a boob guy?
Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Number 3, the salty lassie.
Salty lassie. That's definitely food. That's too kitsch to be sex.
You are absolutely correct. That is an Indian yogurt drink. Which I think it can, I don't know.
Oh fuck! No, I have like 2 cookbooks with some of those. LASSI, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, LASSI. The Salty Lassie.
No, I think that one of my Star Wars themed cookbooks has one of those, and I think Thug Kitchen Bad Manners cookbook has some of those.
Number 4, meat cricket.
That's got to be a sex thing.
Yeah, it's the clitoris. And let me tell you,
wow,
that one was hard to find. I thought I had found it a few times, actually.
Dude, that is killer. I'm so glad you're making a joke, because I was about to say, dude, that is the fucking perfect thing to say right then.
Okay, number 5, blue beans.
Blue beans. That's a sex thing.
It is. It's the female equivalent to blue balls.
Yeah, I was getting that vibe, like.
All right. I like how you held back on it. I hope you didn't make your stomach hurt by holding back on that one.
I hear that some people die from not getting it.
I don't want to take the chance. Number 6, force meat.
Force meat?
Force meat.
That's definitely not a Jedi sex thing, so I'm going to guess that is a food thing.
I think so far you are 100% correct, and that is a raw meat or fish emulsified with fat. Force meat. All right, number 7, bubble and squeak.
A bubble and squeak? Mm-hmm. That is a sex thing.
No, this one is...
Oh, no.
It's a British dish made from combining potatoes and cabbage.
Damn, this
Bubble
is like
and
bangers
squeak.
and mash. There's no fucking way bangers and mash isn't a sex thing, but it's not.
It's not. Actually, number 10, we'll get there. Number 8, the Arizona pot roast.
Well, I gotta go back through my history class just to see if I'm missing anything. No, that's definitely a sex thing.
Okay, so technically it's not a sex thing, but it is something I found on Urban Dictionary that I thought was funny. An Arizona pot roast is leaving a baby in a hot car.
True.
All right.
Shout out to Kmart.
Yeah, and Circle K. Whenever my mom and dad needed a pack of smokes, I got Arizona pot roasted. Number 9, meat cactus.
Meat cactus. I'm going to go out on a limb, man, and say that that's food.
It is not. It is a large, freshly shaven penis.
Oh, I wouldn't know anything about that.
Because it starts to grow back, yeah. I mean, I've seen small...
That's what I hear.
I've seen small cactus, and it's definitely fucked me up just as worse, like as a big cactus, so I don't know. Number 10 for the win. And this one, the answer to this one was kind of shocking to me, but number 10, duck butter.
Duck butter? Mm-hmm. That has to be a sex thing.
It is a sex thing, so you win the game. Yay. Okay, so duck butter is sweat and other substances that gather near the genitals. And so I actually wrote an and because I was like, I have a degree in culinary. I have like an associate's basically in culinary. I was like, I'm pretty sure duck butter is a real thing. I looked it up. It is not. Duck butter is almost exclusively a sex term, and if there is a duck butter, I cannot find it. I don't know why I had like a fucking, what's it called?
Like some people sell like fat. I'm pretty sure that duck fat is a cooking medium, but it wouldn't be called duck butter.
No, it's more beautiful this way.
Right.
All right. This concludes the interview segment. When we come back, we're going to be talking about everything everywhere all at once. Hello and welcome to the Potty Break. If you're hearing this, then you know you're about halfway through the episode. No sponsor this week. I'm just going to plug a couple shows that my band Negative 32 has coming up. First off, May 3rd in Sholo, Arizona. May 4th will be in Flagstaff, Arizona. And then May 5th is going to be in Phoenix, Arizona at Ground Zero Studios, which is a new venue. So keep an eye out for that if you're a local and you want to check us out. What I really want to do is talk about this idea that I have. It's kind of like a soft pitch, but for like a Patreon account. And so what it would be is 3 tiers that are all related to the podcast itself, where I can kind of like give you these ideas that I have that I think are really funny. Most of them are centered around like fake bands or like, you'll see. But I just kind of wanted to make a soft pitch and maybe get a pulse check on what people might think about that. Who knows? I might have something on that in the coming weeks. Let's get back to this episode. All right. So today we are going to be talking about the movie Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. And honestly, until we started doing this, this idea to do this episode about this movie, I had never seen the movie before. I was vaguely familiar with what it was about. And I do have to ask, why do you give such a shit about this movie?
Right. That's such a good question. Not to stroke myself or anything, but I feel like this might be, from my perspective, and art is always subjective. Mm-hmm. From my perspective, this is the best fucking live action film of our lifetime. At the very least, it's the best post-COVID, and I would say the best since the year 2000 forward. And that includes fucking rock solid cocks like I Love You Man and other fantastic Galaxy Quest movies, you know what I mean?
Dude,
but this movie,
if you love I Love You Man, we're coming back to that. Anyway, go ahead.
We will. This movie is so good because I think for me, It is the closest to feeling a direct resonance with visual media I've ever felt in my life. Like, there's a certain delivery element with their absurdist sort of philosophical but nonsense nihilism comedy that is so resonant for the way that I just exist in my life. You know what I mean? And that's what I think makes the movie kind of specific sweet spot for me. But it's also fucking good. In addition to having a cast of some of the best actors I can think of, Jamie Lee Curtis, Michelle Yeoh, James Hong.
Yeah.
It has
and also Ki Hoi Kwan. I want to say it right. Yeah.
And Jenny Slate, man. Like, Jenny Slate is another artist that I just didn't know enough about until Marcel, the snail with shoes on.
Yeah.
And I started to look into Jenny Slate's creative history with that project and other things. It's a fucking absolute gem of a cast, but it's also one of the best written and I think well directed sort of absurd movies that you can find.
Yes.
From start to finish. Like, and this is one of those things, I know that you had mentioned that you just watched it having this conversation come up, but it is a movie that, like, for me, it hasn't gotten, like, I've still caught new things watching it over again because there's so much love and attention to detail in the entire fucking thing. Like, I was grateful that we got this opportunity to make this because I watched it again and I fucking was like brought to tears even earlier than normal in the movie because I'm noticing things that I hadn't caught before. Just beautiful whole world attention to detail things.
I cried 3 times watching this movie. And I remember where, and I wrote so sometimes, like, when people will say things, I write it down so I don't forget. Like, for example, I'll use a real example. While you were talking, I wrote, "You have to stomach yourself." That's something that you said in the first part of the interview. But something that was said during this movie, so she says to her dad, "It's okay if you can't be proud of me because I finally am." And I cried when she said that. Like, I felt my throat, like, tense up, and I got choked up, and, like, I did cry watching that. There were so many beautiful parts of this movie. And so one of my favorite parts is obviously the kid from the Goonies is all grown up, and then you learn that he has a not so fun story in real life, that he was typecasted and basically blacklisted by Hollywood because they didn't want him anymore because he was no longer young and cute. And then he comes back for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and he didn't even know he didn't know that he was gonna end up in this movie. It's not only a fucking masterpiece, but Waymond is adorable.
Key's performance is fucking stellar.
Yes.
Like, I mean, because taking the movie from the start, we're talking about a dude who put his whole fucking pussy into making this marriage and laundromat work. And he is a sweetheart. Like, that is his character in a nutshell, is a good human being. And Key fucking delivers in terms of capturing the essence of this lovely soul being crushed by circumstance, being crushed by the life that he's choosing every day. You know, because, like, and to spoil a lot for this movie.
Oh, you can spoil it. I'm assuming if people are going to watch it, are going to listen to this, they've already seen it. So
right. So in the first scene of this movie, you get through these people helped with audio, lighting, whatever. The first scene is this beautiful shot in dramatic contrast tones of a happy family doing karaoke. Snap to a stressed adult person doing taxes. And Key's character enters the scene holding a small stack of papers that you find to be divorce papers throughout the course of the film. And it's devastating as you kind of unearth this insecurity about a circumstance that you see in him when he watches these other happy couples, and he loves his wife, but he's worried that life isn't what she wants, because it's evident in the way that she treats him and the way that she feels living day to day, that she's unsatisfied with the life that she has. Right. And Key's delivery of that exact person is perfect. It's so beautiful.
You see that again too when they kind of like they highlight the importance or the significance of Key's character in like it's kind of like we're jumping ahead, but after they get to it's everywhere, and she shatters the window with the bat, and then he picks up a broom and starts sweeping it up. And
Yeah,
just shit like that. It just always gets me about his character because I'm like, God damn it, he's really just a fucking sweetheart. And
no, he is. He's a good human being, and that's so beautiful. And like that, I think is one of the most important elements of the movie and his character in it. How it exists in that context.
So a couple of the things I really, really wanted to highlight about this movie, just from like my end, is, well, first off, Wayman is adorable. Evelyn is so hateable. And so I think when people watch the movie, you might kind of get like, I fucking hate her and like I hate the mom. That means that the actress who portrayed her is doing a fucking phenomenal job because she also embodies that. Like she makes herself hateable. And it's not easy to do that. Like Alan Rickman is Snape. It's very difficult to make yourself a hateable
Michelle
character.
Yeoh as a hateable character is a testament to her fucking ability. She is
fucking
such
phenomenal.
a cool person. Like, I mean, really, she fucking kills. And in that movie, I mean, she represents, in a lot of ways, the lived experience of a lot of Asian American people, the parent that they had in their home. But she is, like you said, hateable. She's a person who resents going into every day. No matter how beautiful you could evaluate her circumstance to be, she is not happy with it.
No.
Because it's never enough. That's the life a central theme of this film is generational trauma.
Yes.
And that is what her life has been, you know? And her dad is very important to that narrative and is present throughout the film, played by the fucking GOAT, James Hong.
Yeah, Gong Gong is his name.
Yep.
So I do want to point out too, if you're just now, like, I mean, you're not just now listening, but like if you're just now jumping into the podcast, this podcast is not about film reviews. We're not reviewing a film. What we're doing is we're talking about the emotional impact that these movies have on us. Like for me, I'm a person who like the things that I enjoy become like they're as much me as like the fucking clothes I have on right now. And so one of the things that I really, really enjoyed about the storytelling in this movie was the everything bagel. The metaphor of the everything bagel is one of the most brilliant and also beautifully tragic ways to illustrate something like nihilism. It's so fucking difficult to explain. Like you can look up the technical definition of nihilism, and I think the movie giving you the visual aspect is a better definition of like, for me, it clarified so many things about like nihilistic thoughts and like things that you have. And then you get to learn that no matter what happens in your life, or no matter the infinite number of circumstances, the infinite number of possibilities, it's never too late to change the way that your story goes. And I loved that so much because I do get existential sometimes, or I get nihilistic.
Well, and there's a certain beauty to if you'll get through the film at some point. You'll watch the whole almost 3 hours of it, and it doesn't stop being beautiful.
Never.
But by the end, they flip the nihilistic narrative onto its head. It's a more silver linings, nothing matters, instead of a existential dread, nothing matters.
Right.
Nothing matters more than this moment right now because I'm deciding that it does. You know, like that's the beauty of nihilism that is really understated, because there is a certain tragedy to this concept that nothing matters, right? And that's I think really well depicted by the self-destructive sort of characterization of the everything bagel, the black pulsing butthole that sucks everything into it, because that's but there's another way where nothing matters, so I get to be this now. I get to be this way now, and that's so fucking cool. And the way that they execute that story is just awesome in that movie.
I love that when Evelyn, she comes to terms with the fact that nothing matters, and then she realizes that she can basically foster or create her own reality. And I love that, like at the end of the movie, it's not a spoken thing, but you do get to understand, or you get to see the character come to an understanding that no matter how insignificant you think every single one of these stories may be, they all have little twinkles in their eyes at certain moments that make everything matter. You're living for those moments, and those stories deserve to be told. Regardless of whether or not you find them to be significant, they are.
Right. And that's such a beautiful thing. Now, I did want to point out, kind of to balance the weight of all this beauty, this is the only movie I have ever seen with a well-choreographed kung fu fight with two dudes trying to get a thing up their ass. Like, that is so fucking good. The Chekhov's gun of the butt plug shaped fucking award, and the scene where Michelle Yeoh has to keep the award away from that dude's fucking ass, so stellar. Or like when Joy's character fucking whips out those tremendous cocks and beats that dude across the head with it.
That's what I wrote. I wrote fanny pack and dildo fight scenes. Whenever
oh my god, when the fanny pack scene.
Yeah, when Waymond pulls out that fanny pack and like rolls it out, and he reaches, he does a wall sit. He reaches behind the wall, grabs the rocks from the aquarium, and dude, I was so fucking, I was so bricked up during that entire scene.
Yes.
Like, I couldn't sit still, and I was so happy. And
yeah, dude.
She does the there's another thing about it that's the costumes. I'm obsessed with the costumes in it, but there's this costume it's at the end of the movie where Jobu Tupaki falls down the stairs, and then when she looks up, she's wearing this weird outfit that's like, her makeup's crazy. She's got a wig on. She's got like multiple layers of like grandma sweaters. I am absolutely head over heels in love with that design for her character. I fucking love it so much. Whoever designed
it was beautiful.
Yeah, all the costume design was fucking phenomenal, and the way that Jobu does this thing where she exists through every single version of herself. She exists through at the same exact time, and she can toggle through them. But she does this weird twist thing. That first time that she does it, and she twists, and she has the bottle in her hand at the beer. Dude, she's at the bar with the bottle in her hand. I literally get chills I've seen it 3 times in the past 3 days. I get chills every time I see it.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was talking about when I mentioned that there's a visual artistic element of this film that captures such a deep essence of how I view art and life. And I love the way that you put it, that it's like it gives you chills how real this surreal bullshit is, how very fitting it is. And kind of jumping back to the first real action sequence of the film, when Waymond fucking cranks that chapstick and eats the whole fucking hog, and then the aspect ratio shifts to that fucking action movie aspect ratio.
And then they have dust on them,
yeah, that was a fucking beautiful creative choice that really kind of immerses you into that, because this movie is a fucking torrent of back and forth between deep, profound emotional shit and Raccacoonie level nonsense. But it brings you to that scene where it's just the most, like, not stereotypical, but like this great representational kung fu fight with a fucking fanny pack that's got a cute little lucky pig on it. And like you were saying, when he grabs that fucking, he grabs that handful of aquarium rock, and then the fanny pack is dripping as he's just fucking rocking those security guards with it. It's beautiful, man. It's like, it's so well choreographed, and it's compelling as a piece of art by itself.
I was watching it by myself, and when he grabbed the handful of rocks, I was literally audibly, I was like, he's going to put those fucking rocks in the back. He's got if you watch like Carly, he's got a butter sock. He's going to whip their asses with a goddamn butter sock. He
butter socked the shit out of those people.
One of the things that I wanted to point out, because you were saying that there's this contrast of beauty and like the way that there's like actual stories being told, or like visual metaphors that they're trying to create, or like really some actual like life trauma events that they sum up through like really beautiful ways of telling it. And then it also contrasts with dildo and fanny pack fight scenes and hot dog fingers and multiversal jumps that make you feel existential, or Raccacoonie. There is a family heart-to-heart inside of a fucking sex dungeon. So literally, sometimes it happens at the same time where you're watching them have like, she's sitting there trying to like talk to her daughter, and they're in a fucking like a sex dungeon. So I really appreciated that too. And
it's just a certain important, like, when it comes to absurdist art, it's really important to realize that, like, life is fucking absurd. Your situation may seem normal most of the time, but sometimes shit is off the fucking rails.
Right.
And I think that the movie captures that so beautifully.
Yeah, it's like Wonder Chosen, like the old MTV2 show. Wonder Chosen is something that's just like a weird fucking acid trip of just people who go out. Like, they have this thing called Beat Kids, and Beat Kids is like something that it's basically a kid challenging people's reality and stuff like that. Like, they have a kid asking absurd questions to like people on Wall Street. That's how I felt when I was watching it. It was like that kind of feeling that I got where I was like, it challenges your normal. And so there's something that she says in the movie. She says, "Right is a tiny box invented by people who are afraid." And I wrote that down because I was like, God damn it. Such a fucking, something that's so good that I wish I would have fucking wrote it, first off.
Right.
And there's another line where Wayman, there's a scene where Wayman has a speech in is it a shopping mall or something? Because that's where I started really crying.
Yeah.
It's towards like the climax of the movie.
It's, what do you call it? The tax place. It's all supposed to be in the tax building.
Oh, okay,
but yeah, I know what you mean.
Because there's an escalator and stuff.
Yep.
So he says, be kind. And then he turns to Evelyn and he says, please be kind, especially when we don't know what's going on. That hit me right in the fucking chest. Because, like, dude, he just said, I didn't grow up with a dad. And so sometimes when I watch this, I got my own shit going on. And then I'm like, God damn it. I love every aspect of this person. And I wish that I had a real you.
Right. At my best, I resonate with Waymond. And I feel so realized by some of these things that he says. At my worst, and I think at all of our worst, there's more of us that's living that Evelyn life, that sort of kind of mean, closed off life. And that scene that you bring up is so beautiful too, because after he gives his speech is the first time in the whole fucking movie that Evelyn sees him as a whole person. And to feel recognized like that, to be in an interaction like that in your real life is catastrophically beautiful. It is devastating, but in the best possible way. Mm-hmm. And that's how I felt watching that part, when it kind of pans through all these different emotions that Waymond has had and points in their life that have been profound. It's fucking beautiful. It's one of the parts of that movie that always has me teared up because it is just so poignant. And
then it transitions to Evelyn talking to Gong Gong, and she says that. So she gives him like the speech of like, it's okay if you can't be proud of me because I finally am. And then she introduces Joy's girlfriend. And then you kind of get to understand like that the grandpa's like, holy shit, girlfriend. And then you get to watch like, it didn't go as bad. Like what the fuck was she protecting? Who was she protecting what from? Like it doesn't really make any sense. But she also didn't realize. Yeah. And she says, Joy is lucky because she has what I have, which is somebody who's incredibly patient. And then you start to understand that Joy, and even Joe Butupaki, and even like Evelyn and every version of Evelyn cannot and doesn't flourish without having Wayman. And so I always, and it's weird because like he's my favorite character from the get-go. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because I love the Goonies. Like I just had like an instant recognition with him. But when it starts with Wayman's my favorite, and then they diminish the character so much as you go through because it starts to make it almost seem like, okay, he's just a fucking goofball. And a lot of this kind of seems like it might indirectly be his fault because he did this to her. And then it kind of like, it starts to build him back up and you're like, no, he was really that bitch from the get-go.
And I think that that's really intentional because like right when shit starts to kick off in the first third of the movie, when Evelyn has her first experience being Kung Fu Evelyn, she looks to Wayman and she says, I saw my life without you and it was beautiful.
That hurt me so bad.
Dude, it's fucked up. It's so awful, but it's so beautiful. Like to have art that can just deliver that blow straight to your fucking chest, and then she wants to tell him. That's the next thing she says. When it's not her Wayman, she's like, no, let me talk to my husband. He needs to know how good my life could have been without him.
Right.
How fucking hurtful.
Yeah,
how
that's like
awful.
That's like your wife cheating on you with your best friend and being like, no, but hear me out. He fucked me so good. You're gonna want to hear every detail.
Dude, I've never had that many toes just pop, 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 pop.
That's so good.
That motherfucker, man, he's got rod. It was.
My last point that I've got is I really did grow to first Jamie Lee Curtis was shocking to see her for a second, and then she gets really gross and scary, and then by the end of the movie I fucking love her character.
So yes, and that's the thing that's so beautiful is there's very few people in that movie that don't have an arc that deserves love and kindness.
That's
even
the
that
point.
fucking old
That's
white
the point.
dude.
That's the whole point of the movie.
The old white dude who's kind of delivering all those racial microaggressions in the laundromat. By the end, you realize that this is a lost man. Mm-hmm. You know, in the empathy fight scene,
she sprays him with the perfume.
Yes, the perfume. Oh, it's so beautiful. But Jamie Lee Curtis, actually, like, not to get into celebrity drama, but I remember when people were saying she was up against Angela Bassett for Best Assisting that year, and Angela Bassett delivered a very good performance in Black Panther 2. And my sentiment on that was, okay, you did a good job, but did you play Claire de Lune with your feet while having hot dog fingers and make it still beautiful? Like, make us care about you. You're simultaneously the worst human being in the IRS. You know, a very mean, resentful human person, but also in another scene of the same movie, a literal joke conveying beauty. Like, no disrespect to anybody, but you can't hold a fucking candle to Jamie Lee Curtis's performance as that character, dude. Right. She fucking killed it.
Yeah, she
Deirdre was... Yeah,
she's in The Bear too, Jamie Lee Curtis, and she does like another like really stressful performance in that one. And like that's where I think I've just been slowly refalling back in love with Jamie Lee Curtis. But she she absolutely fucking killed it.
She's a killer, dude.
My last, these are my. It's not an argument, but it's my like closing statements on like if you can sum it up for us one last time, one final time, everything, everywhere, all at once. What is this movie to you, and why should we give a shit about it?
This movie is a beautiful representation of absurdist human art. It tackles concepts like trauma in such a lighthearted but deeply poignant way that I think that if you have no reservations about movies that feature a grown fucking man getting ball gagged and spanked on the stairs by a stranger, you will find personal growth through this, or at least a genuine sense of beauty if you let the message kind of seep into you. And that's what I fucking love about it.
All right. So that was Everything Everywhere All at Once. My final thing that I do with every single guest is I like for you to present me your top three. And so it can be just what you're into right now, or it can be like, it's up to interpretation, whether it be books, movies, bands, TV shows, anything in between. What are your top three, and why should we give a shit about them?
Yeah, so I'm going to do that. And honestly, man, as I failed to mention at the start of this, long-time listener, first-time caller, I'd fully planned to fucking bathe you in top threes of all different kinds of categories, but I felt kind of bad after somebody else beat me to that. So I'm going to give you top three albums for right now. Okay. And this is for people who cannot
that's Idols. I can see it. Yeah, Idols.
This is Idols Crawler.
Fuck yes.
Their 2001 album. Oh my fucking God, dude. Like I didn't know about these guys until last year.
Dude, I just want to point out, I recognize, I could only see the corner in the frame, and I was like, Idols, I know it. It has the Beachland Ballroom in it, and I'm head over heels in love with that song.
Oh my God, dude. Or like the Car Crash song, fucking
amazing.
Killer. The End, like, it's such a simple song, but it so beautifully encapsulates like an important message that this band, specifically Joe, has to say.
Right.
I fucking love this album.
I'm a massive Idols fan, so yeah, I'm glad you brought that.
I hadn't heard their music at all until this album. I've gone back and listened to Brutalism, Ultramono, and their newest one, Tank. But Crawler, absolutely my fucking recommend, especially for anybody looking to get a beautiful but heartrending look into what addiction can feel like. Because that's what this album centers largely around. Truly fucking outstanding.
He says in that album, he says, and if you see me down on my knees, please don't assume that I'm praying. I fucking love that line. I wish I had it. I could tattoo it on my forehead and never think twice about it.
No regrets. Right. So that's another one. Speaking of tattoos on your body, my second album, which I don't actually have in my room because I didn't grab them, is Good News for People Who Love Bad News.
All right.
By Modest Mouse.
Hell yeah.
Fucking beautiful. This was like, so I grew up listening largely to faster paced alt rock, hair metal, because that's what my dad liked, is hair metal, and I didn't have a lot of exposure to folk rock or indie rock until around this point in time, and turn of the century, when Good News for People Who Love Bad News comes out. And that album, first of all, is fucking head to toe bangers. Except for, well, there's a moment in there. There's an interlude that you could take it or leave it.
Yeah, you can skip it.
Album,
still amazing though.
Yeah, that fucking album is head to toe draped in a beautiful power that is just so compelling. It's a great entry point for people who want to listen to Modest Mouse or similar music. I mean, like that sort of softer alternative vibe. And it was formative for me because up until that point, I listened to punk, post-punk, metal, hair bands, and then after that point, like I did listen to like some pop punk, obviously, like Blink-182, Green Day, that sort of thing. But after Good News for People Who Love Bad News, I was able to really get a more rounded appreciation for different pop-leaning, jazz-leaning music. So Good News for People Who Love Bad News, fucking solid number 2 forever. And this one, my number one, is my number one because it has been for a long time, but also because of recent conversations that you, Sir Cody, and I have had, and that is Californication, the fucking solid banger by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. First of all, John Frusciante and Flea are fucking impressive artists. Like, this is not to be disparaging to Chad Smith or to Anthony Ding Dong Ding Dang Kiedis. John Frusciante delivers some of the most soulful alt-rock riffs on that fucking album that I have ever heard. And it was such a big deal for me as a kid because this does predate Good News because this is like the softest stuff that my dad listened to, but it was so fucking good. It scratched such a weird itch for me. And I obviously, I love the Chili's, all of the John Frusciante albums. I could take or leave the Klinghoffer stuff. Dave Navarro, that album's fine. But John Frusciante and Flea are two of my instrumental heroes. And Californication is a very good tour de force of the kind of shit they bring to the table.
Californication is their weirdest album to me, and it is also it challenged what I thought of the Chili Peppers, and so the reason why you brought that up is because I don't like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, which is funny. It got ruined for me by some kid that I used to work with. Yeah, I love your watercolor Chili Peppers tattoo.
Thank you.
Yeah. This album though, in particular, is like I wouldn't say it's like palatable, but I mean, like I like certain moments in it, but especially what steals the show for me is I'm a bass player. Flea as a bass player is just like he's fucking god tier. And then John Frusciante, dude, is that how you say it? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's Frusciante, but I don't really know.
Frusciante, his riffs, dude, he's got riffs for days. He eats them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then he has like arpeggios for a snack in that album. So I have mad respect for it.
To stop on Frusciante, that guy is like somehow still a tortured artist despite being a multi-millionaire because it's so deeply embedded in his soul.
Right.
So the history with John Frusciante is he's not actually the first guitarist for the Chili's. He's the third. I think
he's the third.
Mother's Milk. Yeah. Well, Mother's Milk is their third studio album, and that was his first album with the Chili's. And like he is throughout this whole time just been a dude who happened to like this band a lot when he was younger and is just trying to express himself artistically. And it's led to some real fucking problems in his personal life. I mean, he's left the Chili's 3 times. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think 3 times.
He's back now.
At least twice.
He's back now.
He's back now, hopefully for good. I mean, they're all pretty fucking old, so maybe he'll die a member of the Chili's or he'll live long enough to quit one more time. But yeah, dude, he's a fucking dynamo. Like the two of them together is impossibly good music. And I respect anybody's opinion, however wrong I feel it is, to dislike the Chili's. But Californication's my strongest recommend. If you can get through Californication, obviously, by the way, fucking outstanding follow-up. And then Blood Sugar Sex Magic, if you're getting further and further away from the point. Blood Sugar Sex Magic has the greatest bonus track, though. Castles Made of Sand by Jimi Hendrix,
yes.
Played soulfully by, again, John Frusciante. Fucking outstanding. But Californication, dude, hard. I give that 5 hard, throbbing hard thumbs up.
I was doing the Anthony Kiedis double fisting the mic. California. Gotta wound ya.
And I truly love the sort of fun house representation of Anthony Kiedis that is not very far off from what their music ends up being like. I mean, there was an Onion article I'll send you that was kind of pointing that out. They were like, it's crazy that we live in a world where 2 of the most established string instrumentalists in rock music can make a song that gets overdubbed by lyrics like ding dang dong dong ding dang dong dong ding dang. And I've seen these dudes twice. I've been lucky enough to, and I fucking love Californication. So it's my number 1, primarily situationally, but also because it's a stellar album.
All right. Well, dude, I can't thank you enough for letting me eat out your afternoon. And you are a delicious weirdo, and I love talking movies with. I love talking to you in general. I think your wife and any girlfriend that I've had in the past, you can see a look of just like utter dismay come over them when the two of us would lock eyes at like a grocery store. They're like, "Oh fuck, we're gonna be here for the rest of the night." So it was great that I got to have you on here. I'm so fucking happy that like. I'm so happy that everybody's gonna see you the way that I see you now, because like once you start going, you say you're genuinely just one of the funniest fucking people I've ever met, and I can't thank you enough for being on here, dude.
Well, thanks, dude. It's beautiful to be here, and I stand fully by my offer to come back sometime and interview you.
Oh yeah, I would love it. Well, dude, I love you, and I hope you have a great night, and I'm sure that there will be many an opportunity for us to do this again.
Beautiful.
All right, perfect, dude.